It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, a lot of things happening in the 116th Pennsylvania State Legislative District, as well as in the city of Hazleton. Today, we hope to get as much information about MinSec, police officers, crime, voter ID, regulations, new House bill, gangs, you name it. We hope to get as much information to you as possible. I'm Sam Lesante. Thanks for joining us on the Sam Lesante Show. My guest today, Representative Tarah Toohil and Police Chief of Hazleton, Frank DeAndrea. Folks, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I know you guys are really busy, and I appreciate you coming on. But I think it's important that we touch on a few things. We've been hearing a lot about MinSec. We're hearing a lot of the quality of life, Frank, and, you know, you've been going through with crime, the suicides, the murders, and you know, we talked a couple times about that as to how safe is our city. But before we get to you, let's talk to Tarah. Tarah, MinSec, okay, we were hearing a lot about MinSec. I understand there was 2 state contracts that were not renewed with MinSec, which was the
mental health
and the AOD, right?
Yep.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, they had 2 contracts that did expire September 30th, and they are not being renewed. So they were given notice of that last Thursday, and this is a big, big win for the Hazleton area because that's 28 inmates that were here for mental health, drug and alcohol, behavioral treatment that they were supposed to be getting, and those 28 individuals are now no longer going to be in the Hazleton area, so they're getting sent out. So we have significantly reduced the population in MinSec. It's something that I've worked very hard on along with local officials. The Chamber of Commerce has been a huge help in this. We are constantly meeting with the governor's office, calling the governor's office and working with DOC, trying to get them to start to minimize the population and then eventually close the MinSec.
So you see MinSec closing in the future?
That is my hope, and it's something that I'm going to continue to fight for.
Okay. Well, my question to you, Frank, would be this. The 2 areas that they closed, well, these people were confined anyway. They weren't allowed to leave MinSec, okay? So basically, you still have people who are coming and going in MinSec, right, Frank?
Right. There's probably 100-ish. It changes every day, number of inmates that are still remain in MinSec that are on work release. So although I look at this as a win for the city, and I have to comment to make sure that everyone understands that without our representative, this would never have happened, because I police the city, but I can't fight the fight in Harrisburg. MinSec has been here for years, and for some reason, I refer to her as my pit bull, latches on to something that she recognizes is good for the community and will not let go. I have no idea how she succeeded, but I am so grateful for this because it's the first win. I anticipate that in the future we will have to just remain diligent and see what other changes we'll be able to succeed in making through the Department of Corrections. Right now, these were the first contracts that expired. I have no idea what else will happen. I do know that MinSec themselves, 2 different high-level executives from MinSec called me immediately and said, this is what's going on, because I maintain a rapport with them. I'm just extremely gracious for what Tarah is doing for our community.
Well, right now, according, you know, to on the other side, they're saying that MinSec, they're under control. They've been watching what's going on. The police department, there's more security, and it's a lot safer than it was before. So, with all due respect, on the other side, MinSec, the officials are working. They're saying the best that they can, and that we're in, you know, we really have nothing to be concerned about.
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
And the reason, well, partially. I am positive that the officials of MinSec are doing everything that they can to abide by the rules. They've never been fined for violating the rules that the Department of Corrections sets. The problem is that a facility such as this resides within a city of the 3rd class. That becomes the total issue. The issue is not, are they following the rules that are set? The problem is that you can't release 100 people from a minimum security prison into downtown Hazleton. I don't have 100 people that walk the streets from the community. So when you flood the community with members of or residents of MinSec, it sticks out like a sore thumb. That's what makes other businesses not want to locate downtown. It makes people who were going to walk downtown decide not to. You know, it just sets a bad example. And remember, the two major arteries that cross through the city of Hazelton are on the intersection of this facility. You drive up Church Street, you see people hanging on the street corners in the back of Spruce Alley. It just does not present the proper appearance for a city of the third class.
We can't have a MinSec facility here for that reason, because it doesn't belong in the downtown of such a small city like the one we have. We don't have the police, we don't have the community that can deal with all the repercussions when there is an absconsion. You know, they're supposed to be using they try to use our recreational facilities, using our library. They're not supposed to be doing those things. All those services should be provided within a facility like that. There are other MinSecs that don't have the problems that we have in our community. Right. So my stance has always been that they need to take the individuals that are in the Hazelton facility and send them to those other MinSecs, send them back to state prison or another community corrections facility.
I think that's an excellent point. The fact is that none of us are saying that there isn't room for community corrections. I recognize it's a governor's initiative and it makes sense. The problem is it doesn't make sense for Hazelton.
So you're pursuing to eventually eliminate them from Hazelton?
Well, we had the murder last week, and I requested again personally on the telephone with Department of Corrections Secretary Wetzel and with the governor's office. I requested again, please close them immediately. I requested for immediate implementation of House Bill or Senate Bill 100, which actually ends the pre-release program.
Okay, now let me ask you a question, okay, because you know I want to ask you a question. How much politics is being played here? Okay, because if you have something to me, and I guess I'm stupid because I think sometimes common sense, and maybe I'm an idiot, okay? But when you have something so-called, according to what our police department says, our representative says, the Chamber of Commerce says, the people say, okay, and you call the Department of Corrections, and these things are happening, why don't they respond to that? I mean, so to me, it's just like there's some kind of political thing going on.
Well, they've heard us, and they definitely have responded.
What have they done? What have they done?
Well, by not renewing those two contracts, that's a big thing. Okay. That's huge. Okay. I mean, this has been before I came into office. With my predecessor, it was just like, listen, you're never going to get rid of them. We're going to turn a blind eye to it. Senate Bill 100 is actually reviewing every single state contract right now because they were administered under a different Secretary of Corrections. They were administered under a different governor. And we were allowed to have these community correction centers. So under Senate Bill 100, they're all being reviewed right now. We discovered, the legislature and the Department of Corrections, that the pre-release program is not working. That if you commit a crime and you're sentenced to 5 years, you're going to do that time and you're going to do it in state prison. You're not going to come here to Hazelton and get to be a pre-release person and walk around Hazelton and cause problems for us.
So the proof has been there. You've seen that experience already. Folks, I'm talking to Representative Tarah Toohil and our police chief in Hazelton, Frank DeAndrea. A lot more to talk about. I want to talk about House Bill 2507 about gangs. Really, are things being accomplished with all these meetings that UDCHEC and Barletta and Toohil are having? Or is it just meetings getting together and nothing's being accomplished? We're going to find out about that. Also, one of my pet peeves is regulations, folks. They're killing us. They're regulating us to death. I'll tell you some interesting stories about that when we come back after this break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember 24/7. Hey, folks, last month, over 2.5 million hits on our website. Thank you so much. And remember, the girls, the premiere of the girls, start October 6th. It's going to be a fabulous start. Also, remember 24/7 SSP TV, all of our shows online, watch them anywhere in the world. We had a friend of mine came up at one of the tapings, the girl says, I watch you in California. And so we have also friends of ours in Afghanistan who are watching us, and it keeps them informed what's happening. My guest today, Tarah Toohil, representative of the 116 Legislative District, State Legislative District, and Frank DeAndrea, Police Chief of Hazelton. Okay, let's, the gang, there's all these gang meetings you're having. Really, is anything being accomplished with these meetings with Barletta, UDCHEC, and you, and everybody else? Are things being accomplished?
Yes. We're very lucky to have Congressman Barletta and Senator UDCHEC, working together. For many, many years, we never would have had our congressman. Our congressman, who was a Democrat, wasn't ever even working with our state senator, who was a Democrat.
He was a Republican.
No, it was Senator Musto. They didn't even work together.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant the
so we've had a real breakdown, and then with the state representative as well, there was some division. So now at least we have all these people on the same page. We have our law enforcement officers able to talk to us and let us know what the gang situation is in the Northeast here, and Pennsylvania, unfortunately, has no gang statutes at all on the books. The definition of criminal street gang-related crime, they're non-existent in Pennsylvania. And the larger gangs and criminal organizations across the country, they know this. They know that they can come here and they're not going to be penalized for gang activity, and they're not going to be tracked appropriately because we just don't have the laws, we don't have the databases. So we have made tremendous inroads, and this week, largely in part because of State Senator U.D. Chack and our congressman, I was able to get a bill through the House of Representatives that's now going to finally get attention in the state Senate. And that takes a bipartisan effort. It takes people all coming and working together. And that was House Bill 2507.
What is it?
That puts the words into language, creating criminal street gang, creating that to be an offense, right? And committing a crime, a gang-related crime. And it lists the offenses: theft, robbery, burglary. And there's going to be a sentencing enhancement for those crimes if they are conducted in conjunction with you being in a gang or gang-related. And also, another really important thing that has a lot of sting to it is that recruitment and retaliating against someone who's trying to withdraw from a gang is all in that legislation. And we've had events in our city here with a 13-year-old child who was savagely beaten, and that was a gang initiation process.
Now, when you, so there'll be in this particular bill, if this happens, what the punishment will be?
Well, it's going to be, the judge is going to be able to enhance their sentence because of this. And they're also going to be able to put that on the record that that person is a known gang member. So when that person eventually does their time and gets let out of prison, our police departments are going to be able to know. It's going to be flagged in the system, in their criminal history.
Is it a strong bill?
It is a strong bill.
Okay.
We have 10 days to get it through the Senate, back out to us.
The reason I ask that is sometimes when you see, we talked about this, one of the shows I did with Frank, when you see people who kill people, rape, beat them up, etc., and they're coming out of either Zola's office or Jamie's office or whatever office, they're smiling, they're, you know, like nothing ever happened, and it's like a thumb's nose to, you know, this is what I've done. And the thing is, sometimes the fear, you know, they know they're going to get off. Either there's lenient judges out there or whatever. And so if there's not a fear, okay, knowing if they come into your town here, you're going to be in some serious problems. So that's why I ask, will it be enforced by judges? And unfortunately, we have some very liberal judges who feel that, you know, everything's wonderful, just slap them on their hand, God loves you, and they should also, they should resign as far as I'm concerned.
Not
because,
in Hazleton,
okay,
no.
well,
I think...
I'm talking about in the statewide.
Right,
okay?
because our magistrate is
forget,
phenomenal.
You don't want to get.
You don't want to go in
yeah,
front of our magistrate when you
Jamie
committed a
and
crime.
Donald
Exactly.
But what I'm trying to tell you, Frank, is that the fear factor anymore. Okay, you know, you would be afraid to do something like that. But now it's like it's in your face. Who cares? I'm getting out anyway. Okay, and you don't know if there's money being involved, politics being involved, or whatever. That's the sad part, and we're all paying for it in our society.
I think the way that this is written, this is the tool that law enforcement has needed to really uncuff us, because our hands have been tied.
Absolutely.
We could only do so much without this type of sentence enhancement. So now, all of the time, when we can verify and validate that someone is an active gang member, and there's ways to do that. The Department of Corrections is phenomenal with being able to do that. We have intel. We work with the state police, the FBI. There are more gang task forces now, thanks to the representative. The school district has their own gang task force. We have this one that we did, Operation Gang Up, with the senator and a congressman and the representative. We have the law enforcement gang task forces, and they network. But this legislation will be critical to us being able to finally clean up gangs.
Okay, now, leads me to another question and concern that I have. God forbid you're not feeling good, okay, and you have arthritis or you have something here, but your heart's bad, okay? So I think a doctor is mostly concerned about the most important serious matter was to get your heart working before they take care of other parts of your body, even though they are important. To me, I think law enforcement and having police officers on the streets doing what they're doing, visible, is critical right now.
Absolutely.
To cut down with crime. So now I think your efforts with the Attorney General is to try to get as many, I mean, if there's anything's priority, come on, folks. You know, I know everyone's concerned about a lot of things. This is priority. We have people with gangs, and the cops need help. Okay, so either our state legislative or the counties or the city municipalities have to recognize that and channel money into getting more police officers. Your opinion on that?
I agree completely. That's what, you know, our main initiative, besides for me working on closing MinSec, Hazleton City, we need more police. We need the police presence to be, and it's significantly improved, but our officers are working with such limited resources, and we need them to be able to have more police cars, more people on the street, more boots on the ground, because once we are able to achieve that, we're going to have a marked difference in our community. The minute one person gets arrested, those criminals out there and the people that are, you know, out on the street, they know that. They get off the street. They don't want to be arrested. So it's kind of like they scatter. And we need to have increased help from our community watches right now. We have a lot of different community watches that are trying to work, and they work separately. And if we can kind of bring them together, that'll be a big help.
You know what fascinates me, Tara? You know, when you ran for office and you're running again, and the governor ran for office, or whomever, your D-Jack ran for office, whether Republican or Democrat thing, so they go to the public and they say, look, this is what I have to do to do this, okay? So then when they get in office and they begin to do that, then they start getting hammered by the liberal press, because you have, you know, because they're upset, the Democrats are upset because the Republicans took over, Republicans are upset because the Democrats took over, and we see it happening in society today. You'll have the prejudice today in the liberal media, and I keep saying that because there's no secret about it. I mean, it's 75-25. Poor Romney's running against not only Obama, he's running against the media as well. So he has two things to run against. And how much is that is true? That's why over 60% of the people don't believe the liberal media anymore. With that being said, when is the nonsense going to stop? When you know, because I know when Corbett ran for office, he said we need to do this, this, and this, and this to bring the state back, to bring more business back, cut our taxes, etc. When he proceeds to do that, he gets clobbered for that, okay?
Right.
And this drives me crazy.
Well, running for office is one thing, but then being in leadership and governing and having good government is another. And you are going to get attacked when you are a leader and you make decisions. People on both sides are going to be unhappy with you. So you're never going to be able to keep people happy.
But why don't they do what is right? Why does the newspapers, the radio stations, the TV stations do what is right? Why do they have to have an agenda?
I think nonsense sells is the problem.
Well,
is that a lot of nonsense.
But you know who suffers? All the people in the community. Frank comes out with his police department. He says, we want to put the ordinances in fact. We want to do this. We want to clean up the playgrounds. And what do you have? Yapping at people. Oh, the chief is doing this. He wants them to have uniforms. And all of a sudden he gets it. But however, it seems that things are developing and people are beginning to see the city and know that they're not going to be able to mess around with Frank DeAndrea and all these great police departments. Why do we continue to have the nonsense that you read in the newspaper, here on the television, where they always want to go one side, okay, no matter how it costs the community? Folks, I'm talking to Tarah Toohil, and Frank DeAndrea will be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Tarah Toohil and Frank DeAndrea, my guest. Tarah, just to touch a little bit on the House Bill 2507 with the gang. Okay, so once again, stating these stringent laws that have to be enforced, correct?
Correct. And one of the biggest things is now that we're learning about gangs and the effect that they're having on our community, the legislature, along with law enforcement, is going to have to put our heads together and make it so that people that are involved in these gang-related crimes, that the judges aren't just letting them out back on the street, because that's part of you know, giving them respect on the streets, that they're able to commit these crimes and get away with it. So we really need to be so much tougher on gang-related crimes. We're doing so much in our communities to educate the children on gangs, and we really need to use the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, get kids involved in sports. Sports, you know, getting your kids involved rather than, you know, them sitting home or hanging out with the wrong crowd. Families really have to talk to their children and reach out to them. And we're hoping to have many more community initiatives to target those children.
So Frank, what do we do right now? How can the community help, the police department help, you know, in this direction if they see gang activity? A lot of people are afraid, as we talked before, because if they call, they're afraid they'll be, you know, be taken care of.
I think everybody could take an example from our representative. If you see something, say something. If it's wrong, do something about it. You know, as a matter of fact, I'd like to take 1 minute to just personally and professionally thank Representative Toohil. I went and I actually had this mug made because she is such an asset to my department. We fight the fight here on the street, but we need a voice in Harrisburg. So thank you very much from every member of my department and this community.
Thank you so much,
Most importantly, what you said, though, Sam, is that the community needs to recognize we are not going to be able to do this alone. The media, the law enforcement, the legislature, when it comes down, we need community involvement. We need people to be willing to make a call. You could call anonymously. You can contact anybody. With the social media today, you could text, you could tweet, you can Facebook, anything you need, get the word to us. More importantly, we have neighborhood watches that are starting to now come back up. There's a lot of different ways for people to get involved.
Tara, I want to talk about regulations, okay? Recently, there was a person in the state of Pennsylvania who wanted to build something, bought some land, wanted to build a $300,000 facility, and he's from Florida, and it would have provided about 6 or 7 contractual jobs, got good paying jobs. By the time he was done with regulations, it cost him $750,000. $400-some thousand worth of total nonsense as far, well, wait a minute, not all. I think there should be OSHA and there should be strict regulations. I think we are going crazy with regulations. They're killing us, and who's ever in Harrisburg letting this happen, boy, I'll tell you, it's...
Well, it's been something that I've encountered, and now that I am the state representative and I deal with all of these departments, you just realize that there's so much government, and the people in these government positions, many of them are doing their job, they're following regulations, but some of these regulations is just government upon government, all these layers of red tape and bureaucracy just to justify their jobs. And God, if we could only have those people being police officers or doing something in our community, because preventing business, staying in the way of business, making it so that someone wants to go do business in another state, that is taking away from jobs here at home.
Yeah.
And if you can't build a facility, if it takes 5 years to get a permit, to get a shovel in the ground, because you have to go through all the federal layers, the state layers.
What is being done about it?
Well, what I've been doing, and with Representative Jerry Knowles from Schuylkill County.
Where'd your DCHAC stand on this?
Well, he, I think, probably encounters this in his line of work as well. I mean, he's pretty conservative in some matters when it comes to bureaucracy. And I think that we all want the same thing, Republican and Democrat. We want there to be jobs here. We want there to be businesses. We want to build things ourselves. We want to move forward. And unfortunately, we have some people that are still in government that are not letting us progress. So that's something that I've gotten very involved with. I've learned a lot about. And with DEP now, DPW, they hear from me. I'm right there at the table going over these permits.
I think they get to a point where they really laugh at the state representatives.
I hope not.
Okay.
I don't think
well, I hope not. I hope not either, because they get so powerful, and they figured, oh, well, okay, yeah, we'll throw you a bone, etc. And what they're doing is they're causing a tremendous amount of problems in the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm saying we should do things right. I'm not saying that we should not build things safely or whatever, by no means. I just think it's multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. And this person, luckily, he said, look, all right, I'll go for that. He could have pulled out because he has places all over the United States. And he built it, provided a contractor for 6 months. There were 6, 7 people working there making, $20, $25 an hour. It was a good opportunity.
And that story is extremely common,
Oh,
unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah, yes. Well, Tarah, thanks for coming on the show, and I keep us abreast. And of course, Frank, I'm glad to see we're going to be starting Chief's Corner.
Absolutely.
Folks, if you have any questions to the Chief, it's called Chief's Corner. It'll be aired once a week on our news. So please, my email, sam@ssptv.com, running your questions, etc. And we, take any questions. But let's be constructive with these questions, folks. I don't care whether you like Frank or you don't like me or whatever. Let's be constructive. Folks, let's stop the nonsense. We have a very important election November 6th, okay? Do your homework. It's always after the fact, okay? You say, oh, I didn't know that. Do your homework before you vote for anyone. And if you decide that person's the person, if you do your homework, then fine. At least you've done your homework. We'll see you next time on the Sam Lesante Show.